not escape. The fine rain fell incessantly as Lucas, Beatriz, Marcelo, Julia, and Mariana arrived at the glass house located atop an isolated hill surrounded by dense pine forests. Mariana had been the first to suggest the reunion. It had been years since the 5 childhood friends had seen each other, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to revive memories and reconnect. However, when Mariana proposed her new house as the meeting place, a glass structure that belonged to an eccentric architect, the others hesitated for a moment, though they couldn't explain why. The house had a strange aura, something inexplicable yet irresistible. Even so, the idea of spending a weekend together sounded too good to pass up. They arrived at dusk, the sky tinged with ominous shades of purple and gray. The glass house, seen from afar, was an architectural marvel, entirely transparent, with walls blending into the surroundings, reflecting the outside world in an almost supernatural way. It was as if the house existed in 2 worlds. One, the physical, which everyone could see, and another darker one, hidden within its reflections, waiting to be revealed. As soon as they crossed the threshold, an unsettling sensation settled over them. Although they could see in all directions, including outside, the light inside the house seemed dimmer, as if the transparency of the walls absorbed the vitality around them. By nightfall, the house promised to become a shadowy aquarium, where what lay outside could not be seen, but could certainly see them. Mariana, their host, led them to the main living room. There was something in her behavior the others couldn't help but notice, an underlying nervousness, as if she were hiding something. "Welcome," she said with a tense smile. "Enjoy the house, but a piece of advice: stay away from the glass at night." The warning was delivered as a joke, but it left everyone feeling uneasy. They laughed, though the laughter sounded forced. The first night in the house passed without major incidents. They talked, laughed, and reminisced about old times. However, by the early hours of the morning, Lucas began to feel something strange. He woke up suddenly, as if someone had been watching him. The room he was in had an entire wall of glass, and he couldn't see anything beyond the absolute darkness outside. But the feeling of being watched was palpable. He got up, nervous, and approached the glass, trying to spot any movement. There was nothing, just his distorted reflection on the cold surface. He shook his head and returned to bed, but the unease lingered. The next morning, Julia mentioned something strange during breakfast. "Last night, I swear I saw my reflection move before I did." Everyone laughed at her observation, except Mariana, who remained silent. Marcelo mocked the idea. "Are we getting paranoid already? It's just a house, guys. Nothing more." However, as the day passed, little things kept happening. Beatrice found handprints on the glass outside the living room, large and deformed, as if something had tried to force its way in. Lucas once again felt watched, especially at dusk, when the shadows of the surrounding trees seemed to stretch towards the house, like hands reaching for them. At night, the incidents intensified. Julia was the first to notice her reflection in the glass becoming sharper, almost as if it were another person watching her from a parallel world. She began avoiding looking at the windows. Lucas, on the other hand, had disturbing dreams. He dreamed he was trapped inside the glass, screaming for help, but no one could hear him. In the dream, he saw his friends outside, living their lives, while he was eternally imprisoned within the transparent walls, unable to escape. When he awoke, his body was drenched in cold sweat. On the 3rd day, Marcelo decided to investigate more about the house's history. He knew something was wrong, and his suspicions were confirmed when he found old documents in the basement. The glass house had been built by an eccentric architect named Felipe de Castro, a man obsessed with the idea of imprisoning souls. He believed that glass, when used in a specific way, could capture the essence of people, trapping them in an eternal state of reflection, caught between this world and the next. According to local legends, the architect had mysteriously disappeared shortly after completing the house. Nearby residents claimed the house was cursed, that the souls of those who entered became trapped, absorbed by the glass walls, condemned to wander forever between reflections. When Marcelo revealed this information to the group, they were terrified. However, Mariana did not seem surprised. "I knew," she confessed, her eyes filled with tears. "I knew from the beginning. I've been here before, and I was warned, but something brought me back, something I can't explain. The house, it wants me, but now it wants all of us." Mariana's confession unleashed chaos. Julia was the first to attempt an escape. She ran to the front door, but when she tried to open it, the glass seemed to turn into a solid mirror, blocking her exit. Panic ensued. Beatrice tried to break the windows with a chair, but the glass was unbreakable. The walls of the house seemed to slowly close in, trapping them, while the reflections on the surfaces became clearer, sharper, almost as if the images reflected were coming to life. That night, the shadows returned, more present than ever. Mariana disappeared without a trace, and soon after, her reflections began to appear in the glass, whispering incomprehensible words, her eyes fixed on her friends. Julia lost her mind. She screamed and begged for the reflections to stop watching her, but it was useless. A distorted version of herself stared back at her from within the glass, grotesquely smiling, mocking her fragility. Lucas and Marcelo, now the only ones still holding on to some sanity, desperately tried to find a way out. They discovered a hidden passage in the basement, a secret room filled with old mirrors where Felipe de Castro had conducted his rituals. In the center of the room was a large, dusty mirror, covered in strange symbols. When Lucas touched the mirror, he felt a powerful, malevolent presence. He knew this was the key to breaking the curse, but also the end of any hope of survival. Marcelo began to lose his sanity. He started talking to himself, believing the only way to get out alive was to sacrifice Lucas. "The house wants blood," he muttered, his eyes vacant. "If we offer one of us, it will let us go." Lucas realized what was about to happen, and a brutal fight ensued between them. In the end, Lucas, gravely injured, managed to immobilize Marcelo, but he knew Marcelo was beyond help. Marcelo threw himself against the glass, screaming, and was immediately absorbed by the wall, his body transforming into a distorted shadow, forever trapped between the reflections. Alone, Lucas faced the final choice. The mirror in the basement stared back at him like a portal to the unknown. He knew that if he wanted to survive, he would have to make a sacrifice, a final ritual that could break the house's curse. With blurred vision and an exhausted body, he murmured the words he had found in the old documents. The house trembled. The glass walls began to crack, and the reflections, now more alive than ever, screamed in despair. When Lucas finally escaped the wreckage, he realized something was wrong. He looked at his reflection in the rearview mirror of his car, and to his horror, saw his own eyes. But they weren't the same. The reflection stared back at him with a smile that didn't belong to him. He had never truly escaped the glass house. Part of his soul had been trapped forever within the reflections, condemned to repeat the cycle, while the real Lucas remained imprisoned in the depths of darkness. The curse would never be broken.